Hello there folks, well, so you're watching this video probably because you want to rent an apartment in Serbia and get some more information about that. So, I'm gonna tell you tips and tricks about renting an apartment in Serbia. My experience, I've only lived in Belgrade and yeah, here we go. I'll just say I'm at the airport right now. I'm gonna be flying today on Wizz Air's first flight from Belgrade to Malta. So I'll be there for 3 days. You know, check it out. Anyways, so renting an apartment in Serbia, good news and bad news, folks. The good news is that there's lots of apartments for rent, lots of places that have been empty for months and months and months that you can just go in and rent and pay the money and get the keys and move in there. The bad news is that people in Serbia tend to be very, very strange about their apartments. I would say about half the apartments that I've rented had some sort of weird landlord issues. Most likely and most commonly because the apartment that they're trying to rent you is actually their dead mother's apartment or some sort of, some sort of family issue, and they're renting you, the apartment that they grew up in or something like that. So it can be very touchy and very strange. When embarking on the journey of renting the apartment, you have two choices. You can go directly to landlords, find places that are being advertised and rented directly by the landlords. Vlasnik is what it says on the ads. And then you have agencija. Agencija means that it's going through an agency, an apartment renting agency. Now there's pluses and minuses on both of those things. I prefer to go to the Vlasnik, the owner of the apartment, directly and speak with them, because these Asian people have a certain element of sleaze about them, because they care about nothing at all except for getting their commission, and everything they do and everything they tell you and everything they try to make sure of, all is at the end game of the commission. Now they can find you good deals. They can arrange it so you see 5 or 7 different apartments in one fucking day, and but they, at the end of the day, if they arrange 5 showings, they're gonna put pressure on you to sort of like pick one of them. Which one do you want? Because at the end of the day, they want signed contract, cash in their hands for their commission. The commission is usually half of the first month's rent. So if it's 500 euros for an apartment, they'll take 250. Okay, so the first thing you do when seeing an apartment is you line up so you find the listing that you want. Hello Oglasi is a good one. And there's one agency, actually cityexpert.rs, which I think doesn't really charge commissions. It's more like a listing site. I don't know what the deal is. I haven't tried it, but I've heard good things. Basically, what you want to see is the things to look at how is the heating done? Because you have 2 types of heating. So it's central heating done by the city, which is charged through the Infostan amalgamation of costs, and that you pay year round. So if it's a 250 euro apartment of 50 square meters, you're going to pay an extra 7,000 dinars a month for central heating, for example. But electrical heating, you turn it on, it costs you money. So in the winter, you can have bills of 220,000 dinars just for the electricity you used heating, and then in the summer, it'll be nothing. If it's the summer, the Infostan if it's electric heating, Infostan is likely to be like 1,000 dinars or something like that on a normal apartment. So basically, yeah, you look at that, you look at what it has, is it furnished, unfurnished? Usually apartments here are furnished. Now, as I mentioned with the dead mother thing, a lot of apartments that you'll find are utterly filled with old, crackly, squeaking granny furniture that from the 70s, when it was bought and the apartment was finished or something. And yeah, there's lots of modern places too, but if you're going low budget, like I usually do, 250 euros for an apartment, then you're getting granny furniture, you're getting these old, sort of falling apart, yep. And you're also, yeah, getting the whole deal of the whole old apartment. You can rent places unfurnished here, it's not as popular. You can rent fancy new places for a lot more money, where everything's like up to like spec, brand new standard, beautifully decorated and interior. But yeah, so you want to ask about the furniture, you want to take a look at it. Let's see, what's the next thing? Okay, so, and you want to see who is the landlord and why are they renting it when you go and see. And if you like the person, that's the best, you know. Normally they're gonna ask you to take it for a minimum of 6 months. If you don't want to take it for 6 months, I would say you should just offer some more money if it's just 3 months and use the excuse. I mean, it depends on where you're looking the market and how in demand the place is. But a lot of people are just like, basically for the landlords, they want to offload the burden of their extra apartment, not have to pay infostan, especially if there's central heating, and just sort of get somebody in there for as long as possible. And so they want 6 months, a year, whatever commitment. Yeah, work with them, talk with them, and make a deal. That's why I prefer talking to the owner directly, rather than having this hustler agent in the room, you know, hustling for his commission. If you guys want, and you're bewildered by the process, I mean, I speak enough Serbian to rent an apartment all in Serbian, but I know a lot of you expats who are looking to rent probably don't. If you need somebody who's solely on your side, write me an email and I'll introduce you to somebody who will go around and do the whole process of renting an apartment and explain everything to you in English and talk to the landlords in Serbian and all that stuff. Write me at eric.rs, Eric with a K at eric.rs, and I can hook you up with that person. Anyway, so basically, yeah, you pay a deposit and first month's rent in advance when you get the keys or whatever, something like that, and then you get the keys and you move in. And in the contract you should have stuff like who's responsible for what. Obviously, if you leave the fridge open and the compressor blows, that should be on you. But obviously, if the boiler's 30 years old and it breaks one day and you have no hot water, the landlord should replace it. Washing machine is debatable, whatever. You just make sure you have a contract, always, and make sure it outlines who's responsible for what and all that stuff. And, you know, also, it's always good to ask about the neighbors, because once I lived in an apartment in near Slavia where the former president of the Socialist Republic of Montenegro was right underneath us. That was not fun. I was living with my band at that point over the president of Montenegro's place. We were noisy. They didn't like us. So on and so forth. It was okay in the end. But anyways, ask about the neighbors, ask about everything, ask about every possible thing. I would say a lot of places really could use some work. So you can make a deal with the landlord if you're a fixer-upper sort of person to do some work on the apartment for less rent. You know, everything's possible here, every kind of deal. And I think if you just talk to the landlords as human beings and make friends with them, if they seem like reasonable people, I mean, they will be reasonable to you, and you can be reasonable to them. I mean, I've had weird situations, like the bedroom in the apartment that I rented had a religious shrine with icons, which I took down, and the landlord got angry at me because I moved the religious shrine, and I was kind of like, what, this is the bedroom that I'm renting? I don't want religious icons watching me have sex. But yeah, you know, strange situations, strange landlord, but there's lots of places out there. Afterwards, you'll get the bills every month, probably in your landlord's name. It'll probably be one bill for Infostan, as we discussed, more if you have central heating, less if you have electric heating. You have power bills up and down every month based on how much you use. If it's the summer air conditioning lots, if it's the winter heating lots. Otherwise, it can be quite reasonable, 20 euros a month. And yeah, and the telephone and internet and cable TV and everything like that, all of that, you'll get billed for it and you'll have to pay it. You can make a deal if you're a foreigner that the landlord pays the bills, but it's really easy just to go in the post office, hand them the slips, and they give you the amount of all the bills together, and you pay that once a month and bring the payment slips back to your landlord when you pay rent. That's normal. I mean, it's all easy to learn, all this stuff. And yeah, I mean, it really helps. You know, stuff you can do to convince the landlord that you're good is, you know, 6 months in advance. Oh, and you know, you can get a cleaner come every month to take care of the place, and you know, just try to be a good tenant, good person, and you'll get everything back. It's more of a personal landlord relationship, and one thing I would recommend against is living right next to the landlord, living, you know, in the if he lives in the apartment next door, don't live there. It will be messy. I've seen an apartment last month that was perfect, and I refused it based on that, because the guy was this sort of like, there's only one rule, follow my rules sort of guy, and I need my privacy. The best thing is when I have the door I can lock and nobody comes in unless I want them to, and a lot of the time Serbian landlords can be quite nosy if they're close by. So the ideal is rent from somebody who lives like far away or whatever. Anyways, I'm not sure that I've covered everything, but I've covered a lot. You know, the contract is very important. Police registration. The landlord is legally required to register you at the address as a foreigner staying there, whether it's 1 day or 3 months. You should go to the police station with your landlord and register there, because then you have the white card, which you can use to open bank accounts and get telephone plans, and everything basically relies on that white card. It's a legal obligation of the landlord. The punishment for them is much worse than you, so insist on that. And if they can't do it, I mean, it's not a deal breaker, but really ask why, and you know, everything in this country is kind of weird in that crooked way, so yeah, there might be a good reason why not. But anyways, yeah, I'm off to Malta, folks. If you like these tips and tricks about expat life in Serbia, please subscribe, share this, and share your experiences in the comments. How has it been for you to rent an apartment in Serbia? What advice would you give others in renting an apartment in Serbia? Any questions you have, just write to me, and if you want, you know, some assistance in this, I can hook you up with some Serbian person who will make this a lot easier for you. Write me at eric@eric.rs. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you later.